Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you again for another Appalachian Trail community news, through hiker update, and trail information. Well, I am fresh back in my own bed in the land of flush toilets and showers, fresh off the trail in Massachusetts. I've already started dropping some of those videos, so over the next coming week, hopefully I will have all of that trip dropped. But of course I did almost from the Vermont line there, which is starting North Adams, just short of the Vermont state line. Already done from there to the long trail at the Vermont state line in previous videos. And so I did Sobo down to Connecticut. So go over there. I'll leave a link at the end of this video, and you can go and take a look at those videos. And if you're interested in seeing what the trail's all about in Massachusetts and my hike, then that's a great place to start. But now let's take a look at what you came here to hear all about, and that's what's going on with the Appalachian Trail through hikers and the rest of the Appalachian Trail. So we got Lolly and Pop. They have crossed the Kennebec River there. They said the canoe ferry worked great. The operator was just absolutely awesome. They did take a 0 due to some rain, but they got 150 miles left to go on their hike. So that is awesome. Patriarch, he is in the northern end of Vermont, and he's had no issues getting through, no issues getting across any stream crossings, no issues with any type of washouts or anything like that. So he's been able to do all of Vermont. Blue is in the New Hampshire, and he said that Vermont is passable, but he said the first part is really muddy. And Cobweb Rose, Mountain Crusher, and Snapshot, they are into Vermont, and they would completely agree with that. As soon as they hit the Vermont state line, right there at where the long trail is, it immediately turned into mud, even right there around the sign. So that was a welcome to Vermud type of deal for them. But they are doing well in Vermont. They said they can definitely agree with the mud on the state line. Here's a video of them, of Cobweb Rose, negotiating some of that mud.
I wouldn't even attempt this with my length. This is...
No, it's gonna be great.
Go ahead, Cobweb.
Oh, I nailed it! Yeah!
And so sometimes it's too deep just to walk straight through, and most of the time when you get it up over your boots like this, you just have to walk straight through because you're already muddy and everything else. Now, I try to avoid it, and you'll notice that on my hikes, I try to avoid it. And the only reason I try to avoid it is because when my socks get completely wet through, then my feet won't dry at all, and I start getting blisters. If they're not completely wet through, then the heat from my feet as I hike will dry them out, and I don't tend to get blisters. But if they're just sopping wet, no chance of drying. So that's why I try to avoid it as well. Tupac, he took some time off the trail with his brother and went to spend some time with him. And when he found out that he was dying of cancer, and he was able to spend some good quality time with him, and his brother passed. So thinking about you and praying for your family, Tupac. But Tupac has decided, after discussions with his wife and everything, that he would get back on trail and finish his hike. He just said it would be out there. His brother, that's probably something his brother would want him to do. And so he has gotten back on the trail, and he is somewhere. He left at the Cornwall Bridge there in Connecticut, and he is moving north and is already through Great Barrington, Massachusetts. He says he's hiking with a whole new crowd of great people, and he also asked to keep him in your prayers. Mountain Lion and Strider, they have finished New York, and they indicated they want to give a big shout out to Corrado's Pizza and Deli. So that was a deli in there, and a lot of people say New York's kind of like a deli hike, because you can literally eat at like a lot of delis throughout the course of your hike through New York. And so one of those Corrado's there apparently lets you camp out back. They said the folks there were super friendly and let them do that, and so they just really enjoyed that trip. Ronan 78, he is in the 100-mile wilderness. Docent Trotties, he is heading towards Kent, Connecticut, and says he is starting to see a lot of Sobos now. Says it's super hot, it's super buggy, but he is still cruising. Boston, he is almost to Monson, Maine, and should be entering into the 100-mile wilderness in a few days. So, of course, once he gets on the 100-mile wilderness, he is right there at Baxter State Park, and so he'll be summoning probably in the next 10 days ago. He says the bugs are terrible, and he is definitely wearing that bug net now. Blade Runner is in Maine. She says the trail is pretty wet, but much of the mud is drying. Maine is kicking her butt, so she is just trying to get through. And BD is halfway through the 100-mile wilderness. I don't know how she had a signal there. I thought you couldn't get a signal there. I don't know how she had one to get through to me, but she did. She took a shot around this picture of this lake. Very neat looking lake there. Just gorgeous. And but she is going to be summiting probably next week. Now she's flip-flopping, so as soon as she summits, she'll be flipping back down south and continuing her flip-flop hike. Some folks that finished from last year, Skipper and Texas Pete, they have finished their 2-year journey, so they had to get off. The family did a flip-flop through hike last year, and then Texas Pete had a stress fracture in his leg, and so he had to get off, and he and Skipper got off with him, and they kind of did trail magic for other folks as well as support the family throughout their trip. And so the other 2 boys, Ninja Squirrel and Fish, and then also North Star, they did finish last year. And so now Skipper and Texas Pete, they have finished at Springer Mountain. And so they have completed it. Jersey, he has called his 2023 hike finished. So his story is a story really of how the trail heals. So Jersey is on the trail this year pretty much because he lost his wife, Redneck, of I don't know how many years, but they'd been married for many, many years, and he lost her in 2020. I want to say to cancer. I'm not sure, but she did pass away, an untimely death. She was too young, passed away due to an illness. And so he took the challenge on this year to kind of get over the healing for her from the loss of her. They attempted a through hike in 2019 and had to get off because of some injuries, and he just felt like that he wanted to get on now and just try to heal from that devastating loss that he had. And then when he got to New York, he stayed at a pavilion there that a local church has, and he was going through a pamphlet. And I'm not a big believer in tossing tracts out, religious tracts at people, but you never know what that's going to do for somebody. And so he just happened to open a pamphlet, and he read the first words, and it said, "You are loved." And he felt so strongly at that moment that that was his wife saying goodbye, because Jersey, or Redneck, whose name was Sean, she always told him, "You are loved." And you just felt this great emotion coming from those words that he had seen there on that pamphlet and been reminded of her words, and it just kind of overwhelmed him. And simultaneously, he just felt this peace and healing come over him, and he decided that, you know what, I have gotten the healing that I need out of this trip, it's not necessary for me to continue any further to get any more healing than what I've already got. So he did continue for a while, but he got off there in New Hampshire. And so he feels just this great renewal for zest for life and for these hope-filled dreams that he has, that he's just going to continue life. He said he felt that Sean was his guide to healing on his whole AT journey this year, and that one message, "You are loved," was exactly what he needed at exactly the right time, and has really set him on a new course. He credits Sean Redneck with the best of his life and his new healing freedom to live and enjoy the life he's remaining wherever that leads. So that is awesome of how the trail heals, and how trail angels out there, it's just a simple matter of leaving that pamphlet there for somebody with the words, "He is loved." You never know what that's going to mean to somebody, or you never know what a trail angel out there on the trail, or somebody just hiking with you, what they may say or what they may do for you that is going to cause that switch to turn over and go, "You know what, I have gotten what I need out of this trail," whether it be healing or fulfillment or new direction in life. So you don't have to finish a through hike on the Appalachian Trail to gain so much from this trail that we all love. I'm not a through hiker, but I get something out of every hike that I go out there, every section that I do. I look forward to the day when I may become a through hiker, but in the meantime, my life is fulfilled by going to my happy place, and that's the trail out there. So I encourage you to get out on that trail or any trail. Just get out in God's creation on the trails and enjoy what it is, and get that fulfillment out of being out in nature, being somewhere other than inside in your comfort zone. Get out there out of your comfort zone. So enough motivating for the day. Let me get back on. So Surefoot, he is summited on the 24th. He says they were able to make it to Katahdin Stream Campground and Baxter Peak from Katahdin Stream Campground just to Baxter Peak. So that's typically where you start from in the morning. And you start in the wee hours, but they made it in 3 hours and 45 minutes. And they came back down Appalachian Trail in 2 hours and 45 minutes. So he said his legs felt like rubber after doing that steep descent. But you know, kind of going up, you don't think about ascent because you're getting to that sign up at top. But coming down is a different story. Your hike's over with, and now you're just trying to get down in one piece. And and that is a really tough ascent and particularly a descent, what my understanding is. But congratulations to you, Surefoot. And then I mentioned OG last week, and so he had not had the time when he summited because came out on Sunday, and he summited on Sunday, and so didn't have pictures, but I wanted to go back and rejoice with him and honor him and just give him a huge shout out because he is a hometown boy from my hometown, known OG for a long time. His matrix name is Aaron. Great guy, very giving guy, and he had his family come up. So his family he did not summit with because he wanted to wait on his family to come up there, and they did, and what a great time that would have been to celebrate, and it was with his family up there. So very neat to see that. He was number 406 when he left Springer, number 96 at Harper's Ferry, and number 123 of the Nobo Summit hikers at Katahdin. So congratulations to you, OG and Surefoot, and also congratulations there to Skipper and Texas Pete for their final finish. And before we get to the news, I want to give a huge shout out to Torch 1979. So he supported me in a tangible way with a super thanks. So that is awesome. Thank you so much for doing that, Torch. That means a lot to me. If that's something you're interested in, super thanks is a way that you can tangibly help me out or help out this channel and support this channel, and in doing so support the Thru hiker community. That link is down below under this video. You could also become a Patreon member, or you could just give me a thumbs up. That helps out a lot as well, helps the algorithm get this to other people so that we can support the hiker community together and build the hiker community together. But you know, your comments, I enjoy seeing each one of those comments, and if you got a question, ask it in the comments there. I'll be glad to answer that. Hopefully I'll come up with a good answer. If I don't, I'll make a great one up. And then just also folks that go out there and share this channel with other folks, I greatly appreciate that as well. And of course your subscriptions mean a lot as well. So some news out there. I have some news that's very sad. So over the past week, I've had a lot of you send me the news reports about a lost hiker that was Steady Eddie, who had been missing since the huge rains came through back in the floods we had back in June, and he had been lost near Killington Mountain. And since then, they have, since this past week, has also come out that searchers found his body, and apparently he had been swept downstream at a brook crossing there at near Stony Brook Shelter. So Steady Eddie's name was actually Mr. Kirker, Robert Kirker, and apparently there, when the storms came through on the night of the 29th, he tried to cross there at Stony Brook and was swept away by the flash floods that came there. So we don't know if it was a flash flood that just all of a sudden happened in the middle of his crossing, or if he tried to get across during the flood and it just got too much for him. But in any case, searchers did find his remains. They came across his gear first, and then of course they found him. So very sad to hear that. It is a terrible thing when we lose one of our own out there. He was a thru hiker and was doing a flip-flop. So our prayers and thoughts go out there to the Mr. Kirker's family. And if you're somebody who prays, please send those prayers to his family. If not, send them good vibes, good thoughts, whatever it is that you do out there, and let them know that the hiker community cares about them and cares about their loss. And then Spineless Cougar, a trail angel up in from New York, but he does it up in Vermont. He sends us in pack weights whenever he does a Trail Angel or Trail Magic, and he typically does that at least once a week. And so this week he sent us some pack weights in, and I think it's always interesting to see those, and particularly folks will know, particularly Nobo, what people's pack weights is this far north up in Vermont, kind of compare it to theirs and see how they ran. So the medium pack weight he had was 25.67 the average was 25.67. But really the more telling one is the medium, which is 26, and the reason I say that is because you can always have these outliers of a 40-pound pack and a 13-pound pack that kind of slew the average, but in this case it really did not slew it that far. He did have a low that had a low pack weight of 13 and a high of 30. 30 is certainly reasonable. He's had in the 40s, maybe even higher before. In the 13-pounder, he said, was somebody that gotten rid of all their cooking gear and they were cold soaking. So, but cooking gear does not weigh 10 pounds. So my cooking gear weighs less than a pound. It weighs right at 14 ounces, not including the fuel. So probably weighs, with the fuel, it would probably weigh right at a pound or maybe just under. But so 13 pounds is certainly low, but that doesn't, your cooking gear doesn't make up, to get to 20 pounds. So anyway, those are just the kind of idea of the pack weights. Not a lot of other news going on out there other than we got a lot of folks that are in the 100-mile wilderness, a lot of folks that are in Maine. So over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to have a lot of people that we're tracking report in that they have summited their hike. So looking forward to that. If you're somebody out there on the trail and you're summiting, even though we haven't been keeping up and even though you have been updating us, we still want to rejoice and honor your accomplishments. So send those in. Send me your summit picture. Send me the summit number that you had, and it helps if we know what you were at Springer and Harper's Ferry. Just data that's good for people to know, but particularly your summit number to keep up with how many folks have summited. Send those in to me. I'll be sure and feature you on this update. Don't forget to keep looking for my updates from my last hike in Massachusetts. Those will be coming out over the next week or so, and hopefully you'll enjoy those. All right, folks, that's all I got this week. As always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out here.